It was a cold, dreary afternoon. The sky was covered with thick clouds, and the streets seemed unusually empty for a city like this. The man, Alex, walked briskly through the alleyways, his coat tightly wrapped around him. He wasn't rich, not by any means. In fact, he was barely scraping by, working long hours at a small diner for just enough money to pay rent and buy food. But despite the struggles of his life, he never lost his kindness. As he walked down the narrow alley, a soft sound reached his ears. It wasn't a pleasant sound, but rather a pitiful, weak sound, the sound of someone in need. Alex paused. For a moment, looking down the alley. He couldn't see much at first. The shadows were deep and the light was fading fast. But as he moved closer, he noticed two small figures huddled together near the dumpster. His heart skipped a beat when he saw them. Two little girls, no older than 8 or 9, sat shivering in the cold. Their clothes were ragged and dirty, and their faces were pale from hunger. Their eyes were wide, filled with fear and exhaustion, and they barely noticed Alex approaching. He could see the deep sadness in their eyes, the hopelessness that came from days without food or care. The man couldn't stand it. He didn't know who they were or where they came from, but he couldn't ignore the look on their faces. "Hey, are you two okay?" Alex asked softly. Crouching down in front of them, the girls didn't speak at first, just stared at him. The older one, a girl with long, tangled hair and eyes full of uncertainty, finally nodded. "We're just hungry," she whispered. Alex didn't hesitate. Without a second thought, he stood up and walked to the corner store. He wasn't rich, but he had enough money for a meal. When he returned, he had a small bag in his hand, filled with sandwiches, fruit, and a couple of bottles of water. "Here," he said, handing the bag to the girls. "This should help a bit." The younger girl, who looked even more fragile than her sister, stared at the bag like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. She reached out hesitantly, her small hands trembling as she took the food. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The older girl nodded, her expression softening as she looked at Alex. "You're the first person to help us. Everyone else just ignores us." She looked down at the food, almost too embarrassed to eat it. Alex smiled gently, kneeling down in front of them. "Don't worry about it. We all need help sometimes." The two girls dug into the food eagerly, their faces lighting up with relief. Alex watched them for a moment, his heart aching. He had been in tough spots before, but never like this. These girls had no one to care for them. He felt a strange sense of responsibility, as if it were his duty to make sure they were okay. Even if just for a moment. For a while, neither of them spoke. They ate in silence, grateful for the meal that had been placed in front of them. As Alex stood up to leave, he turned back to look at the girls, who were now finished eating. "Where do you live?" he asked, still concerned. "Can I help you get home?" The older girl hesitated. "We don't have a home," she said, her voice shaky. "We just move from place to place." Alex felt a lump in his throat. He knew there was no easy way to fix this, but he had to do something. "Do you have anyone? Family? Friends?" The girl looked away, her eyes brimming with tears. "We used to," she said softly, "but not anymore." Alex sighed deeply, feeling the weight of their situation pressing down on him. He wasn't a rich man. He couldn't offer them a house or a stable life, but at least he could make sure they didn't go hungry tonight. "All right," Alex said finally, standing tall. "You stay here for now. I'll see if I can find someone who can help. You don't have to stay out here by yourselves." The girls nodded, their faces filled with a strange mixture of hope and doubt. Hope because Alex had helped them, but doubt because they had learned not to trust easily. The world had taught them that kindness wasn't common, that people were quick to ignore those who were struggling. But something in Alex's eyes, the warmth in his voice, made them want to believe otherwise. As Alex walked away, he felt a tug at his heart. He didn't know what would happen to the girls or how he could fix their problems, but he knew one thing for sure: he wouldn't forget them. There was something about those two little girls, something that had touched him deeply, and in the back of his mind, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was more significant than he realized. Little did he know that small act of kindness, giving to hungry girls a warm meal, would set off a chain of events that would change his life forever. The days following that cold afternoon seemed to blur together. Alex had tried his best to forget about the two girls. Life moved on, as it always did, with work, errands, and the constant grind of his ordinary existence. But the memory of their eyes, filled with hunger and hope, stayed with him. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw their faces, their dirty, tired faces, and heard the faint whispers of their thank yous. It felt like they had somehow become a part of him, even though he hadn't really done anything for them that would justify such an impact. It was a few weeks later, a quiet evening much like the one he had first met them, when Alex's life took an unexpected turn. The air was thick with moisture, and the streets had that heavy, almost eerie silence that settled in right before a storm. Alex had just finished his shift at the diner, and he was walking home, trying to shake off the long hours of work. The city was quieter than usual, the hum of traffic a distant memory, the usual crowds absent. But just as he was about to round the corner, a bright light caught his eye. It was faint at first, just a small flicker in the sky, like the distant glow of a falling star. But as Alex stopped to look, the light grew bigger, brighter, until it seemed to be right above him. His heart raced. The glow shifted, its shape taking on a strange, almost unnatural form, and Alex instinctively stepped back, his breath catching in his throat. The sound of something cutting through the air followed, like a low hum, a steady vibration that resonated deep within his chest. Was this some kind of dream? A trick of the mind, maybe, but the more he looked, the more he realized this was no illusion. This wasn't a meteor or a helicopter. No, this was something else, something far more mysterious. The light grew brighter and larger, until it was undeniable it was descending, coming closer and closer to the ground. Alex's legs shook, but he couldn't pull himself away. He was frozen, caught between fear and curiosity, his mind racing for an explanation. The glow finally hovered just above the pavement, casting an eerie, almost supernatural light across the street. And then it stopped, completely still. The air around it felt charged, heavy with something Alex couldn't quite name. He had no idea what was happening, but he couldn't tear his eyes away. That's when the door opened. It wasn't a normal door. There was no handle, no hinge, just a smooth, seamless surface that parted as if it had always been there, waiting to be opened. And out of it stepped two figures. Alex blinked, unsure if he was seeing things right. But as the light flickered away, the figures became clearer. He recognized them. His heart stopped. The girls. But they were different now, changed. They were taller, more elegant, their faces glowing with an otherworldly energy. Gone were the ragged clothes, replaced with flowing, silver outfits that shimmered in the dim light. Their eyes, once filled with fear, now held a strange, unsettling confidence. They looked at him as if they had known him for years, as if they had always been a part of his life, even though he could barely remember their names. One of the girls, the older one, stepped forward. Her eyes met his with an intensity that sent a chill down his spine. She smiled, but it wasn't the kind of smile Alex had expected. It was knowing, almost as if she were holding a secret that was about to unfold. "You didn't forget us, did you?" she asked, her voice soft but firm. Alex didn't answer at first. His mouth felt dry, his brain struggling to catch up with what he was seeing. How was this possible? What was going on? Hadn't they been just two homeless girls a few weeks ago? And now, they were standing in front of him, like something out of a storybook. "Who are you?" Alex asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. The younger girl stepped forward as well, her face filled with an unspoken sorrow. "We are the ones you helped," she said, her eyes never leaving his. "You fed us when no one else would. You gave us more than just food. You gave us hope." "But how?" Alex's voice was trembling now. "How are you here?" The older girl smiled again, but this time, there was something different in her expression. "You don't need to worry about that. What matters is that we are here now, and you are part of something far bigger than you realize." Alex felt a cold shiver run through him, his instincts telling him to run, but his feet remained rooted to the spot. "I don't understand," he said, his mind reeling with confusion. "I don't know what's happening. "We're not from here," the older girl continued, her eyes darkening. "And neither are you. This world, it's only a small part of the bigger picture. You have a role to play, a bigger part to take on, and it starts now." Before Alex could respond, the air around them seemed to shift, a sudden pulse of energy rushing through him. His heart skipped a beat as the world around him seemed to blur. For a brief moment, everything around him felt wrong, as if time itself was bending. And then, just as suddenly as it had all begun, everything went still again. The girls were standing there, waiting, their gazes locked on him with an intensity he could no longer ignore. Their ship hovered silently above the ground, its sleek, silver form shimmering in the twilight. It was impossible. None of it made sense. But somehow, Alex knew deep down that this was just the beginning. Whatever was happening, whatever was to come, he was no longer just a man struggling to get by. He was now part of something far greater, something that spanned beyond the stars themselves, and there was no turning back. The silence of the night was broken by the distant hum of the spacecraft above, its presence undeniable now. The girls stood still, their gazes unwavering as they observed Alex, their eyes filled with a strange kind of knowing. They seemed almost patient, as if they had been waiting for this moment for a long time. But for Alex, time had stopped altogether. Every part of him screamed that something was wrong, that this couldn't be happening. But it was. There was no denying it. As he stood there, rooted to the ground, the older girl spoke again, her voice smooth yet filled with an intensity that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. "You're not just any man, Alex," she said, her words carrying an unknown weight. "You were chosen, long before you even knew we existed. You were chosen for this." Alex's mind spun. "Chosen for what?" he asked, his voice thick with disbelief. "I'm just a regular guy. I don't even have anything to give. I can barely take care of myself." The younger girl, who had been standing quietly beside her sister, now spoke. Her voice was softer, almost like a whisper, but there was an urgency in it. "That's what makes you perfect. You didn't help us because you thought you'd get something in return. You didn't even hesitate when you saw us. You just did it. Your kindness wasn't for glory. It was pure, and that's why we're here." Alex shook his head in confusion. "I don't understand," he murmured. "This doesn't make sense." The older girl stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his. "It will. But first, we need to show you something." Before Alex could respond, a strange sensation washed over him. It was like a pressure building in the air around them, a subtle shift that seemed to pull him towards the ship. Without thinking, his feet moved of their own accord, carrying him closer to the hovering spacecraft. He felt a pull, not just physical, but something deeper, something inside him that resonated with the presence of the girls. He stopped at the edge of the ship, staring up at its gleaming surface. The ship was unlike anything he had ever seen. Sleek, smooth, almost liquid in its design, it hummed softly, a quiet rhythm that felt alive. The moment his hand touched the surface, the ship responded. A panel slid open soundlessly, revealing a glowing light within. Without thinking, Alex stepped inside. The interior was even more otherworldly than the exterior. It was vast, yet impossibly compact. The walls seemed to shimmer, shifting colors in patterns Alex couldn't quite follow. The air felt different, cleaner, lighter, and a sense of calm washed over him. But there was something else, too. Something that made him feel small in a way he couldn't explain. Like he was standing at the edge of something massive. Something far bigger than anything he had ever known. "You feel it, don't you?" the older girl asked as she followed him inside. "This is the heart of the ship, the core. It connects everything, everywhere. And it's calling you." Alex felt his heart race. "Calling me? Why?" The younger girl stepped forward, her expression more serious now. "Because you're more than just a witness. You're a key. And the time for you to unlock what's been hidden is coming." Alex couldn't take it any longer. "I still don't understand. You're telling me that I'm part of some bigger plan, some key to unlocking something. What is all this? Who are you really?" The older girl's eyes softened. "We're from a place far beyond this world, Alex. Our people, our civilization has watched your world for centuries. We've seen Your struggles, your triumphs, your failures, and we've always been present, guiding, protecting. But for the first time, the balance is shifting. And it's your actions, your choices, that will tip the scales. But why me? Alex demanded, his voice shaking now. I'm just an ordinary man. No, the older girl said softly. You're not. You were never just ordinary. There's something inside you. Something that connects you to the universe in ways you can't even begin to imagine. Alex felt a strange pull in his chest, like the words were resonating deep within him, striking chords he didn't even know existed. I don't know what you're talking about, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The younger girl's voice interrupted. You will. Soon enough, you'll know everything. But first, you have to see what's coming. Alex's heart beat faster. What's coming? Before he could ask anything else, the walls of the ship shimmered, and suddenly, the space around him morphed. It felt like the very air was bending, distorting in a way he couldn't comprehend. And then, he saw it. A hologram, or perhaps a vision Alex couldn't tell. But it was a vision of the future, and it was unlike anything he had ever imagined. He saw chaos, entire cities burning, the sky ablaze with fire and destruction, spaceships, much like the one he was standing and flying through the smoke-filled skies, their engines roaring as they fought off a force that was too powerful to comprehend. He saw people, millions of people, their faces twisted with fear, their eyes pleading for someone to save them, and in the middle of it all, he saw a figure, a shadow, dark and powerful, moving across the chaos. It was a force unlike anything Alex had ever seen, and it was heading toward Earth. No, Alex breathed, taking a step back. This is a nightmare. This can't be real. But the girls only looked at him, their expressions solemn. It is real, the older girl said quietly, and it's coming. The universe is in peril, and you, Alex, you are the one who can stop it. But only if you choose to act. The question is, will you? Alex stood there, frozen, staring at the nightmare unfolding before him. His heart hammered in his chest, and his thoughts spun in every direction. He had never asked for this. He was just a man, trying to get by. But now, he stood on the precipice of something far bigger than himself. The weight of the future, of the entire galaxy, rested on his shoulders. And in that moment, Alex knew that there would be no turning back. The vision faded as quickly as it had appeared, leaving Alex standing in the center of the glowing spacecraft, his breath shallow and uneven. His hands gripped the cool surface of the ship, the only thing that seemed solid in a world suddenly turned upside down. The chaos he had just witnessed hung heavy in his mind. His thoughts were a tangled mess of disbelief, fear, and an overwhelming sense of helplessness. He wanted to run, to escape from the reality that was closing in on him, but the ship, the girls, and the truth they had revealed anchored him in place. The older girl's calm voice broke through his inner storm. You saw it, didn't you? What's coming? Alex nodded slowly, his throat dry. I don't know what I saw, but it felt real. It was real, the younger girl said, her eyes sad but resolute. What you saw is the future, our future, the future of your world. But how is this happening? How could I be the one to stop it? I'm just an ordinary guy. Alex's voice cracked, desperation creeping in. He felt his chest tighten, the pressure of the weight he was being asked to bear threatening to crush him. I don't know anything about saving worlds. I don't even know how to save myself. The older girl approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder. You are not ordinary. You were chosen, Alex. The universe has been watching you, guiding you in ways you didn't understand. Everything you've done, every choice you've made, has brought you here, and it's not by chance. You have a gift, a power that is linked to the fabric of this galaxy. Alex's heart raced. I don't feel any different, he whispered, looking down at his hands. I feel lost. You are lost, the older girl replied. But that's why we're here, to help you find your way. The gift you carry is buried deep within you, waiting to be awakened. You've always had it, but now the time has come for you to tap into it. The younger girl stepped forward, her voice softer but full of urgency. The power you possess can change everything, but only if you're willing to embrace it. You cannot fight this battle alone. You must trust in us and trust in yourself." Alex swallowed hard, trying to make sense of the whirlwind of emotions crashing through him. But how? How do I even begin to understand all of this? "We will show you," the older girl said with quiet confidence. "We will guide you through the process, but it won't be easy. You will face doubts, fear. You will want to run. But remember this, you are the key to saving everything. And if you fail, all that you love and all that we love will fall." The words hit him like a punch to the gut, and Alex staggered back. His mind couldn't process it. He didn't want to believe it. Didn't want to accept that the fate of the galaxy rested on his shoulders. He was just a man who had barely managed to survive the hardships of his own life. How could he be the one to stop something so monumental? The ship seemed to hum around him, as if it were alive, resonating with the uncertainty and confusion swirling in his chest. The older girl watched him closely, her eyes never leaving his. "You are not the first to be given this responsibility. There have been others before you, men and women who were called to protect their worlds. Some answered, some refused. But you, Alex, you have something special inside you, and we believe that you will rise to this challenge," the younger girl added, her voice trembling slightly. "You helped us when no one else would. You saw. You gave us hope. That hope, it will be your strength now." The words echoed in Alex's mind, and something inside him shifted. There was truth to them, undeniable truth. He remembered the girls, their hungry eyes, their fear, the way they had looked at him when he handed them food. He hadn't hesitated then. He had simply acted, because that's what felt right. And now, it seemed like that simple act of kindness had set him on a path far beyond anything he could have imagined. He took a deep breath, the weight of it all settling in. "Okay," he said, his voice shaky but resolute. "Okay, I'll do it. I don't know how, but I'll try." The older girl smiled, her expression softening for the first time. "That's all we need, Alex. A willingness to try." The younger girl stepped forward and handed him a small, glowing object, a bracelet. Much like the one she had worn, it shimmered in the light, its surface rippling with colors Alex couldn't quite place. It seemed to hum with energy, a strange, foreign energy that felt both comforting and unsettling. "This is the first step," the older girl said. "Wear it, and it will begin the process of unlocking your power. But remember, this is just the beginning. There are others like you. They are out there, and they will be the key to your success. You are not alone in this." Alex hesitated. For a moment, looking down at the bracelet in his hand, a strange sense of calm washed over him as he slipped it onto his wrist. The moment it touched his skin, a surge of energy ran through him, a pulse of warmth and light that seemed to awaken something deep within. It was as if the bracelet had connected him to something greater than himself, something vast and infinite. His heart skipped a beat, and he felt a sense of clarity he had never known before. For the first time since this all began, Alex felt connected to the universe, to the girls, to something far bigger than himself. The older girl nodded, as if she had been waiting for this moment. "Now, Alex, the journey truly begins. But remember this, whatever happens next, you are not alone. We will guide you. You will rise." Alex looked at the girls, his heart still racing, but no longer filled with fear. He had a purpose now, a purpose that was bigger than anything he could have ever imagined. The galaxy, the future, the fate of countless lives, it all rested in his hands. And for the first time, Alex felt ready. The hum of the ship's engine was a constant, almost soothing sound as Alex sat alone in the control room, the soft glow of the screens casting an ethereal light across his face. The girls were in another part of the ship, preparing something, but Alex was left alone with his thoughts. His mind kept replaying the words they had said, the promise of power, of a destiny far beyond anything he could have ever imagined. And yet, doubt gnawed at him. He hadn't asked for any of this. He was just an ordinary man, struggling to get by, and now he was supposed to save the galaxy. It didn't make sense. The bracelet on his wrist pulsed softly, as though it were aware of his turmoil. It had been hours since he'd put it on, and at first, he hadn't felt much change. But now, as he touched it lightly, there was a warmth to it, a hum beneath his skin that seemed to awaken something inside of him, something old, something powerful, but that didn't help him understand what he was supposed to do. His thoughts were interrupted by the door sliding open, and the older girl stepped inside. She didn't speak immediately, but simply stood there, observing him with those steady, knowing eyes. There was something calm about her, a quiet strength that made Alex feel like he was in the presence of someone who had seen it all, someone who knew exactly how everything would play out. But Alex didn't feel that way. He felt small, inadequate. "You're thinking too much," she said finally, her voice gentle but firm. "It's normal to feel overwhelmed. You're not the first to feel this way, but we've all been where you are. The fear, the doubt, the confusion, it's part of the process." Alex looked up at her, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. "The process? This isn't a process. This is insane. I'm supposed to fight some huge force that could destroy everything, and I'm supposed to do it because I helped two girls once?" He shook his head in disbelief. "I don't even know where to start." The older girl moved closer, her eyes softening as she regarded him. "It's not about the one moment. It's about who you are. The choices you make, everything you've done has led you here, Alex. You've always had the heart for this, but now it's time to understand what you're truly capable of." She gestured to the ship, the vast space around them. "This ship, this journey, it's just as much about you learning who you are as it is about saving others. You are the key to unlocking something that has been hidden for centuries. But that knowledge will only come when you embrace your role, when you allow yourself to believe in it." "But how? How can I believe in something I don't even understand?" Alex asked, the frustration building in his chest. "How do I know this is real? How do I know this isn't just some dream, some crazy delusion?" The older girl paused, then walked to the controls, her fingers dancing over the sleek surface of the console. "You won't always have the answers, Alex. You won't always understand why things are happening. But that's part of the journey. Trust in the process and trust in yourself. The answers will come when you need them." She turned to face him, her expression serious. "There are others like you. You aren't alone in this fight. And when the time comes, you'll find the strength to face whatever is out there. But first, you need to understand that the power within you is more than just what you've been told. It's in your heart, in your choices, in the way you see the world." Alex's mind raced. He had always tried to be a good person, to help when he could, to make the right choices. But he had never seen it as anything more than what was expected of him. And now, he was being asked to believe that all of that, every small act of kindness, every decision he had ever made had led him to this moment. It felt impossible. He glanced down at the bracelet on his wrist, his fingers brushing over its smooth surface again. The warmth was stronger now, and with it came a strange clarity. For a brief moment, he saw flashes of memories, faces, places, moments from his life that he had long forgotten. But now they were all connected. They were pieces of a puzzle that he was only just beginning to understand. The older girl watched him carefully, as though waiting for something. When Alex looked up, he saw that her expression had softened even more, as if she could see the change in him. "You're beginning to understand," she said quietly. "You're not just remembering your past, you're remembering who you truly are. The past holds the key to your future, Alex. Every moment, every choice has brought you here. And the power you seek is not some faraway, unreachable thing. It is within you, always has been." Alex stood up, feeling the weight of her words settle into him. It was terrifying, but it was also freeing, in a way. The uncertainty, the fear, it was still there, but there was something else now, a spark. Maybe he wasn't just a man caught in circumstances beyond his control. Maybe, just maybe, he was someone who could do something about it. The door to the control room opened again, and the younger girl entered. She didn't speak right away, but her eyes held the same intensity that Alex had seen before. There was a quiet strength in her as well, though it was different from the older girls. It was softer, more approachable, but it was still there, unmistakable. "We're ready," she said simply. "It's time to begin. The others are waiting for you." Alex took a deep breath. He wasn't ready. He wasn't sure he'd ever be ready, but there was no turning back now. The universe was waiting, and the future was uncertain, dark, and full of threats. But somehow, Alex felt as if he had a chance to rise above the fear. a chance to become something more than he had ever been before. With one last look at the girls, who were now both standing beside him, he nodded. "Let's go." And with that, the ship's engines roared to life, and Alex's journey truly began. The ship hummed with life as Alex sat strapped into a seat that seemed to mold to his body, adjusting as though it were aware of his every movement. The vast expanse of space stretched out before him, an endless sea of stars scattered across the black canvas of the universe. For the first time since he had stepped aboard, Alex felt a strange sense of calm. It was as though the ship, the girls, and the mission itself were part of something greater, something that he was meant to be a part of, whether he understood it or not. Beside him, the younger girl sat in a similar seat, her fingers flying over a holographic display, her focus intense. The older girl stood near the controls, her eyes on the far-off horizon of space. The quiet hum of the ship was accompanied by the soft click of buttons and the occasional beep from the console. Everything felt surreal, as though time itself had slowed down. Alex's mind, still reeling from the enormity of what had happened, could hardly keep up with the constant flow of information coming from the girls. He hadn't spoken much since they left the planet, not because he didn't want to, but because the words felt inadequate, empty in comparison to the overwhelming flood of questions that kept surging through his mind. He was here, in space, with two people two beings who seemed to hold the secrets of the universe in their hands. The weight of the responsibility, of the destiny he had just stepped into, pressed down on him, suffocating in its vastness. But he had promised. He had told them he would try, and now he would have to live up to that promise. What's next? He finally asked, breaking the silence. His voice sounded far into his own ears, hesitant, unsure. It wasn't the voice of a man who was about to save the galaxy. It was the voice of someone who still had no idea what he was doing. The older girl turned her gaze from the vast expanse of space, meeting his eyes with a steady, unwavering look. "Next, we find the others," she said, her voice calm and filled with purpose. "You're not alone in this, Alex. There are others who carry the same gift as you, others who have been chosen. Together, you'll be the key to stopping what's coming." Alex felt his stomach tighten. The idea of others like him, people who were somehow connected to him in this grand scheme, was both comforting and unsettling. He wasn't sure how he could possibly work with strangers who shared this unimaginable burden. Would they trust him? Would he trust them? "What are they like?" he asked, his curiosity getting the better of him. The younger girl, still focused on the console in front of her, spoke without looking up. "They are like you," she said simply. "They've lived ordinary lives, just like you, but they have been chosen for something greater, just as you have." The older girl nodded. "Each of them carries a part of the power needed to face the threat. But it's not just about power. It's about unity, about finding strength in each other. Together, you'll be stronger than you can imagine." Alex swallowed hard, trying to imagine what it would be like to meet these people. What if they were nothing like him? What if they didn't understand? The thought of standing beside them in the face of some unknown enemy terrified him. But there was no way around it. This was his path now, whether he liked it or not. As if sensing his anxiety, the older girl stepped closer, her voice softening. "I know this is overwhelming, but you don't have to carry this weight alone. We're here, and we will guide you every step of the way." Alex nodded, but the unease didn't leave him. He could feel the power of the bracelet pulsing on his wrist, a constant reminder that something inside him was awakening. It felt like a dormant force, waiting to be unleashed, but the thought of unleashing something so vast, so unknown, filled him with dread. "How do I know when I'm ready?" he asked quietly, almost to himself. "You'll know," the older girl replied, her voice firm. "When the time comes, you won't have to question it. You'll feel it, and when you do, trust in yourself. Trust that you're ready." Alex wasn't sure he could trust himself, but what choice did he have? He had made a promise, and somehow he had to find a way to fulfill it. There was no going back now. The younger girl finally looked up from the console, her eyes meeting Alex's with a quiet intensity. "We found them," she said simply, and with those words, Alex's heart skipped a beat. The moment he had been dreading and anticipating had arrived. The holographic display in front of them flickered to life, and a map of the galaxy appeared, lines connecting distant stars, some pulsing brightly, others flickering faintly. At the center of the map, there was a glowing dot. "They're waiting for us," the older girl said. "We need to reach them before it's too late." Alex looked at the map, his heart racing as he took in the distances, the vastness of the galaxy. He wasn't ready for this. He wasn't ready for any of it. But there was no time to second guess. The fate of the universe was in motion, and he was caught up in it. With a deep breath, Alex looked at the girls. "Let's go," he said, his voice steady now, the weight of his decision pressing down on him. "I'm ready." The ship's engines roared to life once again, the stars outside the window stretching into lines as they accelerated into the unknown. There was no turning back now. Alex was no longer just a man caught in the currents of fate. He was part of something far bigger, something that could save the galaxy or destroy it. And as the ship hurtled through the stars, Alex could only hope that he was ready for what was to come. The journey through space had become a blur. Time lost its meaning as the ship carried Alex and the girls across the galaxy at unimaginable speeds. The stars outside were nothing more than streaks of light, as if the universe itself was unfolding in a way he couldn't quite comprehend. They had passed through countless worlds, some distant and lifeless, others teeming with alien life. But no matter where they went, the mission remained the same: find the others like Alex, the ones who shared his strange gift, and unite them before the threat arrived. It had been days, maybe weeks. Alex had stopped counting. His mind was no longer focused on the Earth he had left behind, the life he had known. Now, everything revolved around the people he had yet to meet, the ones who would help him face whatever was coming. And with each passing day, the weight of the responsibility he carried grew heavier. He could feel the power within him, pulsing beneath his skin, and the bracelet on his wrist seemed to grow warmer with each passing hour. But despite the strange new sensations, despite the awakening of something deep inside him, doubt still clung to him like a shadow. The younger girl had been silent for the most part, her focus on the controls, her fingers dancing across the holographic screens that were scattered throughout the ship. The older girl, however, had taken on the role of his guide, answering his questions, offering encouragement, but never pushing him too hard. There were times when Alex thought he could feel the unspoken weight of their expectations, the pressure to be something he wasn't sure he could ever become, but they never said it outright. They never asked him to be anything other than himself. And then, one day, they arrived. The ship slowed as the distant star ahead of them began to take shape, its bright glow revealing the world that lay beneath it. The planet was small, a pale blue dot surrounded by a shimmering ring of dust and ice. It looked peaceful, serene, almost unreal in its beauty. But Alex knew better. He knew this was just one more piece of the puzzle, one more stop on a path that had been set into motion long before he had ever come into the picture. "We're here," the older girl said softly, her eyes fixed on the planet below. "This is where it begins." Alex felt a lump form in his throat. This was it, the moment he had been both dreading and anticipating. The others were here, waiting for him. But who were they? What were they like? Would they accept him? He was just a man who had helped to orphan girls. He had no special training, no extraordinary skills, nothing that made him stand out from the millions of other people in the universe. So why had he been chosen? As the ship descended through the atmosphere, the air around them shifted, becoming warmer, denser. The planet's surface revealed a sprawling city, a marvel of alien architecture and technology. Towering structures gleamed in the sunlight, their surfaces reflecting the light in strange, shifting patterns. The city seemed alive, pulsing with energy, with a rhythm that Alex couldn't quite understand. They landed in a clearing just outside the city, the ship's landing gear touching the ground with a soft hiss. Alex's heart pounded in his chest. He could feel the power of the planet, the energy that flowed through it, vibrating beneath his feet. It was as if the planet itself was alive, aware of their arrival. He stood up from his seat, his legs unsteady as the weight of everything pressed down on him once again. The older girl stood beside him, her eyes filled with quiet anticipation. "This is where you will meet the others," she said. "They've been waiting for you." Alex nodded, though his mind was clouded with doubt. "And what happens after we meet them?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "Then we begin." She replied simply, "We prepare." "For what?" Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she motioned for him to follow her, leading him toward the ship's exit. "You'll see soon enough," she said, her voice firm but gentle. As they stepped out of the ship and onto the planet's surface, Alex was struck by the beauty of the world around them. The air was crisp and fresh, carrying a faint scent of flowers and something else, something unfamiliar, yet comforting. The ground beneath his feet felt soft, like a thick carpet of moss, and the sky above was a brilliant shade of blue, unmarred by clouds. There was an unnatural peace to this place, a calmness that made everything feel as though it were part of something larger, something purposeful. In the distance, he could see figures moving toward them, tall, shadowy shapes that seemed to be drawn from the landscape itself. As they came closer, Alex's breath caught in his throat. The people approaching them weren't entirely human, not in the way he understood it. Their features were alien, their skin glowing faintly with an iridescent sheen, their eyes large and dark, their bodies slender but strong. They were the others, the ones he had been waiting for. "Alex," the older girl said, her voice steady. "Meet the others." The figures stopped before them, their eyes studying him with an intensity that made his skin prickle. There were 5 of them, each one unique, but all of them radiated the same energy, the same quiet power. For a long moment, no one spoke. The silence was almost suffocating, each of them standing in their own world, waiting for something to happen. Finally, one of the figures stepped forward. His skin shimmered in the light, and his eyes seemed to penetrate Alex's very soul. "So, you are the one," he said, his voice deep and resonant. Alex swallowed hard, his voice barely audible. "I don't know if I'm the one. I don't know what I'm supposed to do." The figure tilted his head, as if considering Alex's words. "You'll learn," he said simply. "We all will, together." The older girl placed a hand on Alex's shoulder, her touch reassuring. "This is just the beginning," she said. "You are not alone anymore." And in that moment, Alex realized something. He might not have all the answers. He might not have even begun to understand what was at stake. But for the first time since all this began, he didn't feel alone. He was part of something larger, something that had purpose, and maybe, just maybe, that was enough to make him believe that, together, they could face whatever came next. The others stepped closer, their presence calming, yet powerful. Alex took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle within him. It was time to begin, time to find out what it meant to truly be a part of something far bigger than himself. And as they turned toward the city, ready to prepare for what was to come, Alex felt a spark of hope ignite deep within him, something he hadn't felt since the moment he first helped those 2 orphan girls. This was just the beginning of something greater, and he was ready.